Welcome to our fifth episode of SARCan, Canada's Volunteer Search and Rescue podcast for Volunteer SAR, about Volunteer SAR, and by Volunteer SAR, and brought to you by Axiom Mutual Insurance, keeping promises close to home. My name is Patrick Armstrong, and with me in this winter wonderland is my co-host, Spencer Whitelaw.
Hi, Patrick. I agree with everything you just said, except for the term Wonderland. I'm not. This is no Wonderland to me. This is tiring, and everybody I talk to has the same general opinion, and that's just we're just exhausted. We're just tired of it. We just want the snow to go away. And I know it's March now, but we probably still have a good another month of dumping. But it can't stay forever, right? I'm lucky in my Adventure Smart role. I get to do nice, warm presentations inside schools and community halls, whereas a lot of our volunteer search and rescues and our first responders are out trudging through hip deep snow, and we appreciate everything you do.
And I stay in the command post, so it's always warm. We're putting a Keurig, so I'm pretty excited about that. One question I have, having known you for a number of years and knowing what your lawn was like when it was not mowed, I have to ask, do you shovel?
We've got kind of a multi-pronged approach here. So we've got the shovel, the traditional shovel, and then my father, when I first became a homeowner and I had no idea what I was doing, was kind enough to
Yes, we
purchase.
know that.
I was kind of raised by a community here with all my various father figures in my personal and professional life, but my real father got me a snowblower that's going on 10 years now and serves me very well. But also my partner's uncle owns a Kubota with a snowblower attachment, so that's nice backup for the weather we've had this previous month where we're absolutely getting dumped on. So we're doing all right here. The lawn is another story, though. The lawn's a work in progress.
Yeah, I won't go into stories about the lawn, but you're pretty famous for the uncut lawn.
Yeah. SARCan is produced by Huron and Area Search and Rescue.
To honor the upcoming International Women's Day on March 8th, we have two great guests this episode, Allison and Emily, who are going to talk about their challenges and successes. And I can't believe, Spencer, in 2025, we have to still talk about male dominated careers and roles. But it's still out there, and they're going to talk about how they, as leaders in those roles, the successes and that they've had and what it's like. And that's in firefighting and search and rescue. Stay tuned after our SAR Spotlight. This episode is brought to you by Howick Mutual Insurance Company. Howick Mutual, established in 1873, has a vision of minding the past, protecting the present, sustaining the future. And their mission statement is providing responsible risk management and commitment to our community the Howick Mutual way. And as part of our SAR Spotlight, we're going to be talking to Greg Grimes from Point SAR. Greg, how are you today?
Wonderful, Patrick. Thanks for inviting me onto your show.
Well, we're glad to have you. And can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, I'm technically retired after 32 years with Rogers, but retired young. So I've looked at some other opportunities in the community. I have a couple of little part-time jobs. I moved back home to Point Edward after spending some time in Waterloo region. I've always had a interest in the community and serving the community. I did some victim services counseling in my day. I was an auxiliary police constable with Waterloo. Been on several boards through my work with Rogers. And when I got home here, didn't own my own boat yet and thought it would be really needed to get back on the water. So I joined Coast Guard Auxiliary, gave me the opportunity to get some boat time. And then I've really enjoyed the work that Point SAR does, making boating safer in this area. And so it's been an extension of what I've done in the past. And it's a great opportunity to volunteer and make a difference in boaters' lives.
Absolutely. I mean, Hazar, we are a really recent Coast Guard Auxiliary addition. I grew up in Sarnia, so I grew up hearing about Point SAR. What can you tell us about it?
Well, we're about a 20-member strong group right now. We operate a rigid hull inflatable boat. It's a former Coast Guard boat that was retired and reassigned to us. We have 20 members. We train once a week. We serve from the St. Clair River down about Fawn Island, and then we go up as far as Port Franks. Grand Bend would be a run for us. So it's a large area that we cover. But we train every week. We do all our taskings when we're called by JRCC, and we participate in a lot of water-based events like the Mackinac sailboat race, the float down, the speedboat races on the river. So we also participate in that as well, which keeps our crews active and engaged.
Our border is Grand Bend, but like you said, I think for our two units to work together, it would be a bit of definitely a hike for you guys to get up that way. People don't realize how that shoreline really juts out.
Yes. Yeah, the farthest we've responded to a distress call, was just off the Pinery Provincial Park. And that was a pretty long haul out there. But we got there and we did the search, and everything turned out good for us, but it was a long run. So it's a large area we cover. We work very closely with the United States Coast Guard, just because we're right on the international border, and the different sheriff's boats. We also have 2 fire boats in our area. So we're very well covered here. And then we have the students from the inshore rescue boat program are downriver by Stag Island. So we work closely with them as well. So a lot of rescue-based assets in the area. Where we are good is we serve from early. We go to early in April and we go right through till November. So we take that shoulder season when the students are in the area as well.
And you guys have the Archie Ferguson, the OPP hike down there as well.
Yeah, and then they have the little Sea Swirl as well, which is here a lot. Yeah, and we work closely with the OPP as well, obviously. Yeah.
So I guess my last question: why search and rescue, and what keeps you here?
Well, I enjoy the well. First of all, it's much like when my auxiliary policing opportunity. Great way to meet new friends. Great camaraderie. Great team building. Interesting training. The adrenaline of going out on a search and rescue call. You can't beat that. And then knowing that we've helped somebody, even if it's just as simple as a family are out there, their boat breaks down and they see the blue light coming across the water. I know how they're feeling by seeing us on the way. And then just, even if it's a simple tow into their marina and tie them off safe and secure, you walk away from that feeling good. You made a positive impact in somebody's life and made their day go better, and in that they're safe at shore, right? So those are the feel goods I get out of this search and rescue, and it's the same in the team building and the crew people that we work with. So I really enjoy it.
Well, thank you very much for stopping by, and I know as we progress into the spring and summer, we'll be having a lot more marine-orientated episodes, which are definitely up my alley, and I'm sure we'll have you back. So thank you very much, Greg.
My pleasure, Patrick, and thanks for including me.
We're lucky again to have 2 great guests in the studio today, firefighter Alison Vickard of the London Fire Department and Emily Kistler of Timmins Porcupine SAR and the Northeast Director of OSARVA. Welcome.
Good evening. Good evening.
Now, Alison, I know you and Patrick have worked in other organizations together, but tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I've been in the fire service for the past 22 years, the last 19 as a full-time firefighter with the City of London. In my current position right now, I'm an acting captain, which means in the next couple of years, I'll get made as a full-time captain. I started as a volunteer firefighter back when I was 18 years old, and have enjoyed both the volunteer and the full-time realm immensely.
And Emily, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I've been in Timmins in Northern Ontario for the last 8.5 years, going on 9. But prior to that, I was part of Search and Rescue in Newfoundland. So I was with Bay of Islands Search and Rescue, SAR, in the west coast of Newfoundland. And so I guess in total, I've been with Search and Rescue probably 16 going on 17 years now. And it is a volunteer capacity role that I hold and always have held. And it's something that I got into inadvertently with friends and colleagues saying, do you want to come join? It would be something that you're interested in. And the skill set of Search and Rescue really meshes with my work, my career, and the skills that are used there. And so I just naturally fell into it and dove pretty deep.
Now, Alison, with you being a firefighter with the London Fire Department, can you tell us a little bit about your role in your day-to-day?
So I am a firefighter that responds to both emergency and non-emergency scenes. So when you call 911, if fire is dispatched, I'd be one of the first responders showing up. So our typical day looks like showing up, checking our equipment, checking our personal protective equipment, going through the truck, making sure all of our gear is there and ready to go. We have breakfast as a crew. We talk about the day and what's on the agenda. We do training. We clean up around the hall. We're in charge of keeping the station clean, both inside and out. And we do have scheduled training that comes through our training division, but then it's up to the individual crews to keep you busy throughout the day. And then running, obviously, emergency calls here and there as needed.
You bring up the breakfast. It's a little stereotypical, but I do like donuts, so I guess that it works out. Emily, you have a few hats in the SAR world. I know that. Can you talk briefly about your role with Timmins Porcupine SAR and with OSARVA?
Sure, yeah. So within my home team, so Timmins Porcupine SAR, I've held a few hats for the team. I've been the training chair multiple times, and then also other board position roles. I'm currently one of our primary BSAR instructors and coordinator of the National Certification Program. And those are the main roles that I have held. And I guess currently I don't hold a board position with the team. I stepped down when I stepped up for the OSARVA Northeast Director, as I saw that there'd be real benefit of engaging at the provincial level with being able to make some really positive strides into that. I guess within OSARVA, I took, first I was a member of the training committee, and that kind of introduced me to the role of committees at the provincial level and the role and how they can form and help shape the organization and lead it forward through time. And so with that, then that kind of spurred my engagement and interest with OSARVA being, connected to team members from other teams within both my region and then provincially. And so when the opportunity arose to become the Northeast Director, I stepped up, and I'm grateful to have done so. My region has 5 teams currently within its region, which is one of the larger regions within OSARVA. Our jurisdiction spans from Parry Sound all the way through north to my home team here in Timmins, and then east to Sault Ste. Marie. So we kind of cut off near the Wawa geography. So it's quite a large geography for Northern Ontario. And I'm very happy to say our teams work really collaboratively together. And being the Northeast Director has given me opportunities to network and increase collaboration and engagement across the teams within Northeast region.
Excellent. And from Southwestern Ontario, that's the other side of the map, everything that you just described.
That is correct. If you draw a line straight north from where you are, it probably, we're going to cross a few Great Lakes, but you'll end up somewhere in northeastern Ontario. So we're about 10 to 11 hour drive from London area.
And I know the one thing that you have been working on, and just an amazing effort, and it was brought up by SAR1, our last episode, is the national certification for BSAR.
Yep, the national certification is run through SARVAC. And it's a great opportunity to have our standards and search members certified within Ontario to the national standard. And that really enables individuals to be able to be deployed for searches or just having a skill set consistent with other teams across the nation. Within Ontario, our BSAR standard is well matched and paired to the national certification standard. So it's an exciting opportunity for OSARVA to be able to gain an additional certification for our search-ready members.
Excellent. As you know, March 8th is International Women's Day. And one of the things that we wanted to discuss with the both of you, and I'll start with you, Emily, when you joined in SAR, were there any challenges as a woman in the SAR world? And what did the atmosphere look like at that point?
So when I first joined SAR, it was in Newfoundland. And so I was very fortunate to have some very strong female leaders and role models within the team. And I think that really shaped and, had me see the opportunities and the roles that we women could play. Our SAR role hat is very similar to a male's. There's very few tasks that are differentiating that a male can do versus a female. So it is a, very open opportunity, and the SAR community is very open. That being said, it is still a male-dominant community in many of the, upper leadership and management. And so that is one of the things that I'm thankful to be able to do and provide an example to other members within our SAR community and SAR groups within OSARVA is to see if another female is a director within OSARVA and a leader within our region and province.
And Allison, how about yourself with being in the fire world? What do those challenges look like to you? We know that the term fireman is the one that's obviously is commonly used as a global term to address all firefighters. But what are some of the challenges that you faced as a female in the fire world?
So present day right now, I can say we've definitely made some improvements to specifically our protective equipment. So our bunker gear, our structural firefighting boots, our uniforms. It used to be that you would just be sized, your measurements would be taken, but you would still be placed into firefighting gear that was designed for men. So there were some limitations with that I can say now that there is female fitting bunker gear, female fitting station wear, that we are making improvements for that, even though I think a little more research needs to be put into to that element of the job. Other present day challenges, our policies for harassment and discrimination, they do exist, but they're not necessarily the best to navigate. And there's still a lot of stigma around actually disclosing that you have been kind of a target for that. So we have these informal networks of women and allies who do have the discussions that try to help each other out, but it would be nice to see policies reflected that actually take into account the people that have to navigate through the disclosure of some treatment that hasn't been the best. Maternity policies are still a challenge right now. And, there's a lot of departments out there that have taken on these issues and have done a really fantastic job. And their management and their chiefs have really set themselves apart by taking care of these issues, sometimes even before their first females have arrived within the department. But I will say there are still a lot of departments, or a few departments out there, that still don't have any female members, or have just a couple, and they haven't really had to deal with, issues such as maternity. So, those challenges do exist, but I will say it is nice to see that our numbers are up because of different initiatives. And back to your reference of the term fireman, it does get thrown around by both, sometimes members of the department and of the public. And I do kind of just laugh to myself, because when somebody does use that term, there's a little bit of judgment on my part, because I can definitely kind of peg why they're using that term. And for those that actually ask the question, is it really offensive? Does it really matter? I just like to say, as individuals of a department, we can do better. So why wouldn't we, by switching to a term such as firefighter?
That's a very good way of putting it.
I agree, and I know that it becomes a fallback for people to say, well, that's part of my vernacular, but we evolve our speech throughout our lives, throughout education, and I think that that's part of it. Is, I know we had talked before, Allison, about the word guys, and that gets commonly used as just, we're just the bunch of us, hey guys, and we don't really put a lot of thought, I think, those of us that have said it, if you haven't tried to evolve your speech, that how that makes others in that group feel when it doesn't include them.
Right. And on the flip side, I've been called out when I've sent out, a mass email to a group of firefighters where I use the term ladies, and not everybody in the group identified as such. So I thank the individual who actually called me out on it in a very appropriate manner, that, I do pay attention to that. So sometimes it does take the effort of one person to step up and say and challenge the term guys. I know, because our present work environment, there are still the majority of crews that don't have a female, that term is used quite often. And I don't internalize it every single time, because that's not their intent. So I also look at, why are they using that term? Is their intent to single me out, or is it just because it's an unconscious group term that they use on a regular basis?
Well, that makes sense. And I know when you look at, and I'll just bring it up, the physical hiring standards, there's always that conversation about, over time, have standards lowered. And I haven't seen that. What I've seen is they're assessing the standards to be what is practical for that role. And instead of, I've never once in my job had to drop and do push-ups, and that's been the standard for every career I've had, but yet it's never helped me in my career. So while we have to measure certain things, I think having those skill-based tests that are reflective of what people are going to be doing in these careers means far more than, can I drop and do push-ups? Can I just do pure chin-ups? I really think, and there is a study out there, and I have to find it, that talks about those standards that what so many people reference were back in the 50s, they were back in the 40s, and they were for men that today they've had to lessen it because men today can't pass those, and they weren't realistic to what the job is. And I would rather have somebody in these careers who meets the requirements for what the skill sets are than they can do more push-ups than I can.
There's also, I'll add to that, there's also the parity of men and women think differently, and sometimes you need to think at things or look at things from a different perspective. So it's actually beneficial to have both perspectives providing insight or ideas onto a problem-solving action or the next steps or steps forward, because it is beneficial, as rather than a single view or a single mentality of something, but having a diverse approach.
Absolutely.
Emily, how has the SAR world changed? Allison spoke quite in depth about how the fire world has changed in terms of gender practices and how things have evolved. How about the search and rescue world? How has that changed, either at the level of your specific team or what you've seen on a provincial scale or even beyond?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I think, both nationally, provincially, and then within my own team, we have more females joining search and rescue. And sometimes it's having the confidence of knowing that the team is diverse and has strong females on it as well, and that it isn't a limited option to only, a male targeted volunteer organization. Similar to the volunteer firefighters, it's more skewed, I think, in the ratios in terms of those that are volunteering. So I'm really thankful to see that both within my own home team, but then also provincially within the regional teams and OSARVA, that we do see a lot of diversity, and that's great. And then I think the other thing that's really beneficial is to have, men and male colleagues be champions of the women on their team. And that role is insurmountable, and I can't thank the ones that have been a champion for me or an advocate or a vocal proponent of my skill set or my abilities to do things, and really supported me through my search and rescue career so far and continue to do so. So they're equally as relevant and important in the organizations, as well as having female role models or ideas and examples of who can do things and others to look up to. Search and rescue is evolving, I think, within Ontario quite a bit lately. I know my own team, we're recruiting, new and younger membership than has traditionally been the place, which is great news for our team. And then with that, you have to have accommodations. You have to have, flexibility. You have to understand somebody could be gone and unavailable for, they're expecting, or, they can do X on a task and they're certified as a searcher, but they're, 6 months pregnant. So you might want to have them more at base camp and doing more organizational things or something like that. So it's playing on a search or within a team, and making sure everybody's skill sets and capacity is suited to the activities, and also that you're not excluding anybody, because you don't want to, a female member is expecting or something like that they're physically not able to do as much. You want to be able to accommodate that and find tasks and make sure your training activities and things that you're doing within a team and as a team are still able to have full inclusion.
I was going to say, I think you bring up a really good point about this is a societal thing. It's not just certain careers. It's in the forefront right now as we're watching everything in the news. But it is on all of us to be part of the solution. Not this is a one gender to deal with this, or this is one group of people. It's on everybody, because it's the whole society that it affects.
Well, and I think the great thing about search and rescue, it's so much a team. There is no individual role and individual tasking and individual success. It's a team success. It's a unit success. It's a tasking team success. So everything's about the team. So it doesn't matter if one person can race ahead faster. Their goal is to stay with the team and be successfully functioning as a team. And I'm a huge proponent of team success is overall success, not an individual success. So I know my team likes to try to provide accolades to me, and I absolutely detest it. And I'm more about the team. And so the team is really what you make of it and what you build, but then also what you bring to the table.
Allison, what successes have you seen? I know you've touched on a lot of the evolution that you've seen, but what successes have you seen personally and professionally?
Well, back to relating to a previous question of women holding specific roles and increasing just our visibility. One of the biggest things that I noticed when I was starting out in the fire service is that it took me 11 years to see my first female chief in what we call a white shirt. So 11 years I was within the fire service before that happened. And, it was not commonplace to see a female step off a fire truck at an emergency scene. And it is more common now, and women are holding management positions within our kind of upper echelon of our department. And it's so refreshing to see that, because even for the public to see women out there holding these positions, even though they may not recognize it, it's setting an example for young women who are out there in the public wondering what they want to do for a profession, and seeing that this is an absolutely incredible career opportunity. We hold a Camp Fit program here in London, which is Future Firefighters in Training. It's a week-long summer camp held for young women and gender diverse individuals. And we're going into, I believe, our 9th year holding this program, and we've had 162 young women participate in this program. So, even though it's a lot about suppression firefighting, so responding to emergencies, we're also exposing these individuals to careers in communications, dispatch, fire prevention, administration, and even apparatus, that we are increasing our numbers in all divisions because of outreach programs like this. So I'm really proud to have been a part of that. And I've also seen the success of other networking opportunities for women in the fire service, such as Fire Service Women Ontario. They have an annual training symposium that networks women and allies. And they have everything from, hot classes, fireground training, to in-class sessions and keynote speakers, that it just, when you attend a large-scale event like that and you see all sorts of different people coming together under the same umbrella, that to me is a success in itself, is that we're talking about these issues. We're not running from them. A lot of people, sometimes don't want to address the elephant in the room. But as long as we're having a respectful conversation, I would rather talk about these issues, talk about the proper terms that we're supposed to be using, because if you don't, how are we supposed to get better?
Absolutely. Emily, any advice for women wanting to come into the field?
Yeah, don't be afraid to ask questions. I'm a huge proponent of asking questions. I ask a lot of questions. It's probably gotten me to where I am now. And look to your team and other mentors, and see others that you want to emulate within the field. And there's always somebody willing to answer questions for you, or give some guidance, or be a support. And that's not necessarily only limited to other females within the team or your organization, but there can be male champions as well that want to boost you up and give you the best opportunity to grow and learn within search and rescue.
Excellent. And this leads us to my favorite part of the show that Patrick always is kind enough when he's creating the script to let me ask, because it's my favorite question. Emily, for yourself in search and rescue, and Allison, for yourself as being a part of fire, why did you both join your respective roles, and what's keeping you here?
Well, I don't know if Patrick knows this, but I actually wanted to be a police officer. And I filled out a volunteer firefighting. I filled out a volunteer firefighting application because I thought it would look good on my policing resume. And at the same time that I got accepted onto this little department, I was working with the OPP Marine Unit as a student on the Archie Ferguson based out of Sarnia. And I was able to directly compare policing and firefighting at the same time. Like, I just saying yes to opportunities is so important for people looking to get into these fields, to properly equip yourself with all of the information possible. And I said, what am I doing going into policing? Firefighting is where it's at. I didn't know at the time that I was the first female to pass the agility test and pass the interview and get on the department. And what keeps me here in my present position is number one, it is a great profession, aside from, the mental health stresses and, those types of issues. It's a great physical career. It has a great schedule. I get to give back to my community. I deeply believe in volunteering for organizations and putting yourself out there and doing good in the world. And I get to do that and get paid for it. And I also find mentoring and being the change very important. I feel like being visible, being that example, keeps me here and keeps me wanting to do better, because representation matters.
I think that's so important, and I love what you said by when you addressed saying yes to opportunities and the amount of doors it opens, because with us being volunteers in our search and rescue world, we obviously said yes to something and chose to pursue it, and it's turned out great for a lot of people, obviously everybody who's still involved in search and rescue, and I love that there's just so much value in saying yes to opportunities and seeing them through. It opens so many more doors for you, and I'm so glad that it worked out for you, and I think you made the right choice.
I think so too, for sure.
And Emily, tell us a little bit about why you got involved in SAR and what's keeping you in the SAR world.
Sure, no problem. Inadvertently at first, it was through friends and colleagues. And then what's keeping me is, I think, similar to what Allison said, is it's really important to give back in society. And when I started my SAR career, I was, early in my career. And so lower with funds and paying off school and all those kind of things. And so I think you should either give your time or money. And I didn't have money to give, so I am happy to donate and give my time. And I think really, the volunteer work that we do, it's not only about search and rescue, but it's about community involvement and community engagement. There's safety and educational and awareness programs to keep individuals safe when they're out in the bush or on the land. And these things are all really important, and you make connections with people that you never thought you would. And I think it benefits us as a society. And I live in a small community in a northern environment. And so I think search and rescue is really critical, as sometimes the next service is several hours away. And so I'm happy to continue to contribute to SAR within my home team and then within the province. And I thrive, and I love seeing new people join and learn and develop a skill that they didn't think they had and succeed with it, and growing that confidence to be really competent in search and rescue and moving forward within the organizations.
Those are some great points. I had somebody once upon a time tell me that if you're cold, wet, or hungry, you're doing this job wrong. I think if you are bored in search and rescue, you're doing it wrong, because there are so many different aspects of it, so many different pillars, and they're also attractive. Everybody wants to do K9 or ropes or adventure smart or BSAR or tracking or just general search or marine or aviation drone, whatever there is. There's so many things out there that if you find yourself getting bored and stagnant, there's so many different things that you can explore that keeps search and rescue fresh and can keep you in the search and rescue world for decades. So that was great perspective. I appreciate you sharing that. I want to thank you both for joining our podcast today. You've shown a light on a lot of things that I know just from myself, from my own, whether it be implicit bias or ignorance, you've helped open my mind to, from things even as simple as uniforms and equipment being designed for males is something that I wouldn't know about. Patrick, I'm sure you're privy to that, because I think we encountered some issues when we were ordering a female tailored uniforms for our team. That was a headache and a half to deal with the manufacturer across the other side of the world, to collectively addressing groups and the verbiage we use. We really appreciate you jumping on and sharing some perspective too about the challenges that you faced. It sounds like we're generally making some good progress towards inclusivity, and that's and thanks most to people like yourselves in your respective realms being advocates for change. So I do appreciate that, and I want to thank you both for joining our podcast today and for what you do in your respective realms. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And I really want to thank you for having us on and highlighting the role of women in these careers and environments, because it takes champions. And so you're both champions. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks for the great conversation.
Thank you. I'm going to start calling you Constable Vickard from now on. So, Bill, thank you both. We appreciate the frank and open discussion, and have a good night.
All right. Good night.
Thanks, guys.
Before we go, I want to highlight these are the people in your neighborhood, a section of the program where we mention a volunteer from across Canada. This time, we'd like to highlight Derek Niles from Orange Forest Marine, who's part of the CCGA Central and Arctic District 3 leadership team. Derek's been instrumental with getting HAZAR its unit status, and personally, he's a mentor to me, although I probably wouldn't say that to his face. He would just run with it, but I can't say enough about Derek. So, Derek, thank you for all that you do.
Thanks, Derek. You're a mentor to Patrick. Thank you for listening to SARCan, Canada's Volunteer Search and Rescue podcast. Brought to you by Axiom Mutual Insurance, keeping promises close to home. SARCan is pre-recorded and produced by the Huron and Area Search and Rescue and edited by Bad Puppy Productions.
SARCan is driven by your suggestions and comments, so please, if you have an idea for a topic, want to highlight your SAR unit, or give a shout out to a member of your team, contact us at sarcan@hazar.ca. SARCan for Volunteer SAR, about Volunteer SAR, by Volunteer SAR. On behalf of Spencer and I, thank you for listening, and thank you to all the SAR volunteers out there, all that you do for your communities, and please be safe. Now, before we go, remember the last episode? You may have thrown out the idea of a Timmy's card.
I don't remember yesterday, let alone last episode, but are you sure I said that? Maybe it's somewhere in the budget.
Well, we got an email from Amit Gers, who is going to be with the South Fraser SAR in BC, and he gave us a suggestion, which for our ending quote, which was, always keep searching.
I like that. And I like that Amit is undertaking the role with South Fraser SAR in BC. Amit, all the best to you. Thank you for undertaking this challenge. We wish you a long and prosperous career with South Fraser SAR. And I like that. If you're fine with us not paying any royalties or patent fees or whatever would be associated with that, we'll absolutely start using that.
Or at least just for this episode. And if you want to send us your address, I will make sure that Spencer, for a trade of a patch, will send you a Timmy's card. I just can't guarantee how much money will be on it. All right, be safe, and thank you, everyone.